Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It is really nice to see some familiar faces and also some new faces, and today we are together to address some of the issues and then present some of our thoughts by the social panel. And I'm working together with a group of members from different backgrounds. Some of us are social trained, some are religious, with religious education degree from Mazhar. Maybe I'll introduce some of the social panels that would have been able to make it today, except two of our members who are actually having mental challenges. So both of them are not up to it here because sometimes they have issues of facing a group of people. So I just received SMS saying that they are not up to meet with people. So that's the reason why we are passionate in the proposing the strategy number 3, which is the mental wellness. Rasima, maybe this is one of the members, very strong and very helpful and supportive from day one up to now. Although twice she was saying, I'm not able to make it, and she wants out, and I invited her back, and she comes back, and she has been very supportive. Alanya, this is the graduate of Bahashwan, right? Yes, and she's also versatile in terms of English education or being able to teach religion in English with the challenge that was proposed. So she's one of the capable and very supportive member. Who else? Social partner? Member? Anyone here? Zarina Fatah is not here. Yeah, the Zarina is here. Okay, and the rest of my friends and all that. So let's just start with the intention. I believe in starting with the right intention. That is, we are all together concerned about what's happening in the social arena. The strategy and recommendation at a glance. Okay, so this is where. 20 years ago, the first AMP National Convention, I was not visually challenged, so now I'm reading the reading class. Okay, the next decade, strengthening the community's architecture, that's the broad theme. And fostering progressive and cohesive families is not something that plucked out of the tree. I think from day one, AMP has talked about, and for the whole community, this idea of being progressive and being cohesive. So I use that theme again, addressing and looking at the possibility. And of course, we have 3 strategies that I will talk in details later. So let's start with this background where we know the core issues that we are facing as a community. We talk about low-income families. At one time, during the early days, I remember, we have talked passionately about the so-called underclassed, although I don't personally like the term, and then we come up with various other terms, dysfunctional, disadvantaged, but we are talking about a group of people, families, they are challenged financially, socially, in all various. So these low-income families, high divorce rate, as well as drug abuse, not only it has stayed, it has become more complex. Yeah. And the other thing is that we have been maybe trained in a way to look at economic indicators for progress, but very few of us, and there are more and more people beginning to consider as very important to as social and health indicators. In fact, I think there's one particular group of people that is like, we're talking about GNP, right, gross in terms of economy. But one particular leader was from Buddhist background, say that actually, if you want to look at progress and success of a community, look at the gross happiness of the community. So there has been a different kind of thinking along the last 10 years, which is helpful. And this idea about our social and health indicators shows that our community health, both physical as well as mental, is something that has not been taken really seriously. 20 years ago, we can always push everything under the carpet and think that as Muslims, all these problems are not ours. And then in fact, I think last 10 years, a lot more of our own people have committed suicide, attempted suicide. Some successful, some not successful. And when it happens to your own immediate family, you know that the problem is real, although we still don't want to address the issue. So I think here we are within family members, close friends, we can address issues openly. So we need to start looking at it seriously. And from day one up to now, the beginning of AMP and other Muslim organizations, we have talked about outreach. We feel that there's enough programs and resources, but actually matching the needs with the community, there's a lot of gaps. And we have attempted, many of us, and yet the challenge is that it really takes a lot of resources, manpower as well as financial to do good outreach programs. So what we call for is that looking at around is that engagement and collaboration. We need to do more in order to overcome our social challenges. The current issues. As I say that from day one that the AMP and then many other organizations, we started with looking at problems. And we know for a fact that if we look for problems, we shall find. There's plenty of problems around anyway. And then we end up this firefighting, and the phrase that I like to use is that hitting yourself against the wall. I have one particular client who, when she has problems, she really literally hit herself on the wall. But that's what we do when we have problems. We get stuck. So it is time with the ABCD model, that is asset-based community development, when we look at potential, when we look at our strength, then there's more hope that we can count on. So need for positive approach, building on the strength our families, meaning Malay Muslim families. We are much more united, cohesive, although the challenge over the years, many of us are also becoming disoriented, disunited. So if we can count more and building on these strong family bonds, our aspiration for the next generation to be better educated and grounded with the right moral and spiritual values, I think we are doing the right thing. And there's acknowledgement both at the government level as well as organizations saying the shortage of the famous term is social workers. I personally, being social work trained, I think the community needs more than social workers. I said this term deliberately, we need social service professionals rather than just social work. We need the psychologists, we need the psychiatrists, we need the community workers, we need the youth, we need more specialists in the social service. So this term is used purposely to incorporate all the people involved, helping individuals and families in need. So we need more to reach out to the families in need, and also to inspire them and family members to be more progressive and cohesive. So this idea about the need for positive approach building in our strength is last. This is a famous question it asks, what do you see in the glass? Half empty or half full?
That's water.
Yes, of course, that's a good way. There's water, resources. But then many people or some people are seeing it as half empty or half, and it's actually true. It's both. It's half empty and half full. The positive people will just look at the half full water. So just see that's water, which is good rather than empty glass. It's not empty. Whereas many of us are still looking at it's only half, and they see as half empty. So that's this idea about whether you're positive or negative. But the challenge is we need to incorporate both. And then that pictures of one smile and all of the sad faces. So we need to have more smiles. And Peter Kenyon said, many of us in the community, we are trained to ask what's wrong and then quickly want to fix it. But there's also a phrase saying that don't fix when it's not broken, right? So just leave it. So this idea about positive attitude, we need to have, and we need to start looking more for positive approach, building on our community, our family strength. So we also need to look into our aspiration and ideals as community, as family members, rather than focusing on our weaknesses and our limitation. So dream bigger and inshallah reach higher. there's this gap between the person in need and then the person that is doing the outreach. And social workers are trained and supposed to make a difference. And we need more of social service professionals, as I mentioned, in addition to the social workers, to help bridge the gap. And fostering progressive and cohesive family. These are the two Malay family pictures I managed to pick from the internet. Hopefully it's not one of your family members. Some people say, is this Abu Bahashwan family? I say, no, these are Malaysian families. And of course, this one we hope that this progressive big house, bigger houses, and well, luckily we have two. We hope to have more than two. So this one that know whether children and grandchildren are included, probably all the children. Fostering progressive and cohesive families, that's the strategy that we really want to work on. And part of this idea about what is a progressive and cohesive family. So we look at the features of progressive and cohesive family. We see that these are families in which they instill and they promote high needs for achievement. Actually, I don't talk about this high need for achievement. There are three so-called types of achievement that are within the community: high need for affiliation, high need for power, or high need for achievement. We need more of our children, our students to have this high need for achievements, and parents to push for that, rather than just acknowledge that they are having high needs for other things as affiliation or power. Second is we want to promote resilience in each family members. This is what makes a difference within the family. If you're resilient as individual members as well as parents, we can then face our problems. We are able to manage and cope with pressures and stresses. So two different individuals facing the same problems, the difference between both of them, how they manage is whether they're resilient or not. We also want to encourage responsible behavior, and good work ethics, so that we can have more individuals within the families who are financially active. We have in the trends among people who are just asking for handouts. They are, what we say, not shy to ask. Even they're young, they're able to work, but they would rather have an easy way out. So we want more family members to be financially active and self-reliant so that they can support their family. So strategy recommendation number one, again this term parent school has been mentioned loosely over the years, and there's always a joke that says that if you want to drive a car, you need a license. You need to at least take a couple of months, and some people take a couple of years before they finally get a license. And always when people ask me, do you drive? I say yes, because I can drive, but I don't have a license. So they say, okay. It's a wrong question. They say, can you drive? No, they ask me whether I have a license. So the same goes to parents there. Are they licensed to be parents? And we're not talking about serious thing about this, but we want all parents to know the importance of having the right education knowledge. So this idea about a parent school, many people like the idea. In fact, in US they have many attempts to actually do it, but they are able to do at program levels. So one of my resource speaker, Dr. Jane Brustein, said that she was involved in this parent school. They have it within the university where they have modules, and they did it within a year successfully. After that, they're not able to continue because of budget constraint, finances and all that. So the idea of having a school either physically or within whatever structure is something that we can work on. And it's not just a school where only for parents, but we want the collaboration, integration, engagement of both the parents as well as the community and the schools. This is the connection that we are looking for. So parental involvement, family engagement, and collaboration with community in connecting with okay, so parent schools to complement the existing structure and services by schools and social services. We know that schools are doing a lot of programs. Again, the challenge is to reach out and to get the families. There are beautiful parent education programs. All schools are doing it. They call it family education, family life. But the challenge is the parents that really need it don't come. The parents that actually are very motivated and very skillful are are there in the community, and most of the time when I organize such courses or I conduct such courses, it is the committee member, the PTA members themselves are there. So a challenge to actually bring the parents to come. So what we want is these parent schools will then complement, and then as well as we can promote strategy innovative policies and programs for effective family engagement. So we are not just talking about schools for parents alone, but we want parents together with community, organization, and the school coming together and partner this. And so we want to explore creative ways of promoting positive addiction for our young. So then this term about positive addiction, I've attended one program, very interesting. Say, oh, there's such thing as positive addiction? Yes. So the trainer is positively addicted to playing a musical instrument. So in between and all that, so he say, I'm not going to be able to be a fantastic musician, but he's really obsessed about picking up and improving the skills. So positive addiction meaning that either you are addicted to sports, healthy lifestyles. So it's good to be addicted positively and not to drugs and all that. So the second one is we want to promote the inculcation of values for success. Always that we know that as Muslims we listen to the azan one day and many times calling for success. But how many of us actually are doing things along the lines? We are hearing the messages but not instilling. So we want this value for success, morality and spirituality to be really drummed in the young through these parent schools and collaboration with communities. And one example, this is taking a model from US, that is parent engagement and community collaboration, is looking at how we can shift the thinking. So if there is a parent school, you will be able to do one of the many things. This is one piece in which we will frame the family engagement, and in the end, we will have really collaboration between the circles. Social workers change futures. Okay, many of us hope to believe that's true, but social workers alone cannot do the job. We need the community to help in terms of funding, in terms of really working hand in hand. So the next recommendation 2, we are talking about exploring the formation of social service professional center. So in short, Social Action Institute. We know, as I say, that government acknowledge this, and they know that to increase, they are talking about shortage of social workers in particular. And they say that, okay, they want to improve in terms of the salary, but salary increment alone doesn't do the magic. Many people enter social profession and then after that leave within 1 or 2 years. The burnout rate is really very real. You know, so my batch of social work trained, there are about 30, 40 of us. I think up to today, the one that remain in social work scene, just 2 of us. The rest go to the bank, to HR, to education and house, full-time housewife, you know, businesses, many things. So the challenge is not just to train them, but to make them stay within the profession. And I say to encourage other professions to maybe do the career switch, or to make those trains really stay within that industry. So to work with persons in need. So we want more actually social service specialists. We don't want just trained in basic, we want people with high level of skills. Because to work with family in need, I tell you, the challenge is really very real. The whole family with multifaceted problems, you know, so it's not easy. So we need dynamic family therapists, we need psychiatrists, whether they are Muslim or not, we need them to be able to work with our community, but either speaking the language or having the same value. So social workers, community workers, outreach workers, counselors, family therapists, etc., etc. Even massage therapists, they can really do wonders, you know, while massaging the legs, they can talk to the client rather than engage. There are many things in which people who are in touch with this family, we need to train them with the right kind of knowledge and skill so that they can empower and inspire the families to make that jump into improving to a higher and better level. So this Social Action Institute will champion the social service, in particular social work, and the social action sector through advocacy, promotion. So it is advocating and promoting sets of progressive support and development of structure in every agency. We want to start with MMOs, Malay Muslim Organization, and then go to the other agencies that are working with Muslim and Malay families. We want to attract new people, inspire new entrants into the social work as well as other relevant areas, as I say, social service professionals. We also want to raise the profile and prestige of social work as well as the other social service professionals so that they become specialists to help the families through advocacy of equitable rewards, benefits, trainings, retraining, and then having the right kind of format where we can come and support each other. Because the challenge of people in the industry, they need support. So case conferences, dialogue, and maybe more World Cafe. If you're familiar with the concept of World Cafe, where people come from different walks of life, they have a dialogue, meaningful conversation in which help to empower them. When they go back, they can then do a better job. This social service or social action institute, we also look at the other areas, promote and facilitate flow of information and knowledge between research and frontline work in the sector, and leverage of national and other resources. As I say, the real challenge is to get those who are already trained to remain and to improve their skills, and then to share the best practices among each other. So we want to do more to help them. And the Social Action Institute, we also develop research capability in the areas of professional development and support within the social and community development. And forming networks among social action workers by leveraging of existing stakeholders. So this is what the Institute proposed to do. Okay, and the parent school, as the recommendation 1, recommendation 2, maybe in terms of the actual implementation, can actually work hand in hand. So may not be two physical entities, it could be one, or it could be programs that working together, so that we can develop incrementally over the period of, we propose within 3 years, then we can see both coming together and working hand in hand. I like this piece. It's this idea about what social workers do. You see that what my friends think I do is like relax, paperwork, computer. What my mom thinks I do is like Mother Teresa, feeding the hungry. And then what society thinks I do is I pick up children, as in children that is being abused, and then send them somewhere else. What my client thinks I do is magic. Because they come to you and they expect magic to happen. They want money, okay, give you money. They want better help, you help. But what I think I do is really meaningful dialogue, conversation, therapies, where there is relationship, there's connection. You help this particular person, being a young person or whoever in front of you, help them think and of course feel, and then change their thinking and feeling, and then empower them to better actions. But what actually I do, this is real social worker hazard, so that, well, many things, you know. So in fact, social workers are burdened with the expectation of society to do magic, you know. So medical social workers have a different set of challenges. Youth social workers have different kind of challenges, but the message is that they are overwhelmed. That's the reason why they don't stay in the industry. After about 3 years, 4 years, they go, I need a break. And then after that, they break themselves, or they really take a holiday, and really a long holiday, after that they want to come back to the profession. So the challenge is real. Okay, the third one, promoting community health and mental wellness. This is something that we, the Social Panel, are personally passionate about. Is we need new infrastructure and innovative services to strengthen the community health, special attention to mental health. So we are very fortunate to have the president of Club Hill today here, Dr. Radia. Maybe you want to just introduce herself. She's a medical doctor and very passionate, and she championed and initiated. She has been going around asking for help, and then everybody said, you just start your own group. And then she did. She formed the Club Hill. Okay, so we want to, and we need to collaborate more with the Health Ministry, Health Promotion Board, towards preventive measure to promote health as our core value, because we are always the number one in terms of health. We are also not healthy, so we are number one in all the physical elements. The one HPV guys say, oh, we are really overrepresented. Yeah. It is promoting community health and mental wellness, area of possibility for better community health and mental wellness could be one possibility. Study the trend and pattern of suicide, as I say, is increasing. Although in some sense we talk about unsuccessful suicide attempts, but we also need to address the matter that for those who really see suicide as a way out of their problem, we want them to see other alternatives. We want to conduct research on our community positive deviance. Again, just now I mentioned about this positive addiction. Positive deviance talk about within community of the problems. There will always be individuals or families that are doing well. So we need to study them. How come within the same context they are doing better than the rest? So if we study them, we can then share the skills and strategies that effect this can be used. This model has been used for the one agency that fund programs to feed undernourished children in Vietnam or in Cambodia, somewhere there, so where millions of dollars have been channeled and unsuccessful in changing. So then they later discover that actually among those communities, there are few of the families that are feeding the children right. They are not malnutrition, so that then in the end they say, okay, let's study what do these parents do differently and then share. So it used less resources, less financial, they need less finances in order to improve. And the last one is that we would like to collaborate with HPB, INH, and with Club A, as I mentioned, in more of the preventive and outreach work. So this, I would want to end with this idea of this Sufi story. There's this community in which they all had problems. So they, among the learned and wise people, they say, let's call a lady, a Sufi lady, an expert from somewhere else. So when she called, this lady comes and then addressed the group, saying, do you know what I'm going to tell you? And then of course the whole community said no. And said, then if you don't know what I'm going to tell you, then there's no point. Then she left. The community was very frustrated. And then say, what's the point of calling this expert? This expert can't help us. And then the wise lady among them said, okay, never mind. Let us prepare. Call her again. They put their resources, call her. This time we will be prepared. Half of you say yes, half of you say no. So if she asks anything, then she asks me the same question. Do you know what I'm going to tell you? No, sorry, the second round is they say, do you know what I'm going to tell you? They all say yes. They say, okay, you know what I'm going to tell you? I don't need to tell you. She goes back, the third trip. Then this is where the half say yes, half say no. They say, okay, the one that know what I'm going to tell the one that do not know. And then she leaves. So then after a while, then they become very frustrated with the one that invited her. You call that kind of expert. And then she has a dream that night. Say, actually, what that Sufi lady was trying to say is that we have the answers within our community. We just need to talk to each other. We need to teach each other. We have the resources. That's why the wisdom of the community always exceeds knowledge of the experts that we always think highly upon. Call somebody from the United States, come for 1 day and then give all the answers. Then go back the next year, same problem, maybe become more complex. So great communities don't just happen. They are created, nurtured, and sustained by caring and involved residents. We have to do the job. So with that, this is where we open for
the best practices in social work to also integrate this imagination about the policy gaps within our local setting. For example, if we discuss on the issues of families with multiple problems, or popularly known as dysfunctional families, right now, the policy angle that we could see is that we see lesser and lesser of masyarakat pantai. However, they are now placed in interim housings, for example. And therefore, in terms of quality housing, we could say that in absolute terms, the quality of life gets better for these families because now they have roof above their heads. However, in terms of happiness, I think we should consider in the relations of how are these families coping within one particular housing unit. That involves at least 2 families. Yeah? And I think more research needs to be done with regards to this. I'm enlightened to hear of this parenting school. However, a point of caution is that for us not to fall into the trappings of having a series of only remedial programs for this particular institution. I think at the general level, for the MMOs, we need to explore further the ideas of transformative programs as well. Last but not least, I do very much agree with you that we tend to be very Western-centric, looking into Western practices, looking into expertise. Social work industry in particular tends to have this inferiority complex towards the academia. However, based on the spirit of ABCD approach, I think it's about time that we look into the assets that is within our own community. And that is where I think we need to be a little bit more humble as well in terms of getting foreign speakers, yeah, in local setting. For example, education-wise, I have always been advocating this to my organization. There are certain things that we can learn from developing countries. Usually when foreign delegates come to Singapore, we will say that yes, Singapore is a developed country and therefore these are the series of models that we can offer you guys, especially when we are dealing with developing countries coming to our side. How about eating the humble pie and learning from these developing countries as well? For example, in Malaysia, in Terengganu, much rural areas, for 13 straight years running, they are equivalent to DSLE, UDSR. They are tops for 13 years. It has been always, I've always been intrigued. What is a trick? Because majority are from the rural side. Terengganu is known to be a poverty-stricken country, minus the Petronas oil industry. Yeah? But how did it happen? And I think I very much agree with you that we need to get positive deviance sector, right? Learning from them. Thank you. Yeah, I did.
Thank you. So, in a way, to summarize, is that you feel that this the strategy of parent school is something that would be helpful, useful, but to look at the operation. That's why I say that what we want to do is not something new. It has been in place over 20 years in the US. Although we say about the expert, but we can use their thinking involved research. It's not just remedial for your information. So it is all the level, developmental and research as well. Thank you for that concept about learning from the less developed countries, if they have something to offer. Okay, any other reactions or thoughts more on in terms of the strategy? Really something that we can do without, or this is something real that we can start working on? The challenge is, of course, at the implementation level, I agree.
We currently have introducing programs only for parents. They do not actually have something in place of a school system, curriculum and all that encompasses what a parent, or to be parents, I would say, to have skills or knowledge of what is upcoming. I think many a times, even at this hour itself, I don't think so anyone would actually be prepared, other than marriage, be prepared to be parent. It comes sometimes in accident. So accidental births, for example, teenage pregnancy, which I'm really concerned about, when they are already pregnant and they're already a mother. I think these are certain things that we need to take into consideration when we want to set up such things. Particularly in programs, I think we only addresses the exact things that we want to, but we need to look into what is crucial, what as parents we need to know, what are the kind of knowledge that we have to understand, and definitely it's really different from previous generations. And we need to do a lot of forecasting of what parenting would be in 2015, 2020. A lot of that need a lot of research as well, and I believe all this has been taken into consideration. I'm really in support of all that. Yeah.
How to do knowledge trends how to cope with PSLE and things like that. I mean, that all comes in parenting/education. Preventive as well. I mean, yes, the young ones before they even become parents. But more importantly, I think, being a parent myself, one of the challenges is not just so much, the shock for me came as a parent, not so much the keeping in touch with what's available around, how to support my kid in school and so on and so forth, but it's the whole idea of co-parenting. It's having to deal with a partner that may or may not share certain parenting values. So I think the school needs to address that parenting is not a solo act. It is something that you do with a partner, whether or not within the institution of marriage or even after a dysfunctionality of sorts. So I think the co-parenting thing is, I'm just speaking off the cuff as everybody was talking about with the parenting thing. The other thing I wanted to ask you, Hamidah, was when you mentioned progressive and cohesive families, you said high needs for achievement. Could you share with us with where that came from, what the idea of achievement is for the benefit of our benefit? Thank you.
Thank you. This high need of achievement is coming up from the theory of McLellan, say that children, he divide three types of needs. So high needs for either achievement, affiliation or power. And throughout I asked for feedback. Parents would say that their children, mostly the Malay, comes under or have high needs for affiliation. Very few have high needs for achievement. So they go to school not so well. They may be doing very well. They have their top 1% at PSLE, and then go to the best stream, Express, Sec 1, and then Sec 2, don't want to go to school. So then this, because they don't really want to do it for themselves. So this idea about high need for achievement is that we want everyone. So whatever level of achievement, we're not talking about top 1%, but achieving within the potential.
So you're just looking at academic achievement,
yes.
Is that all?
No, definitely not. But this success about the balance. So achievement means is like doing their best. It's not, again, as I said, not just results, but also behavior. It's a whole concept of when you are an achiever, means it's not just results in school, but balance in terms of the activities, in terms of leadership. So thank you for raising that up. It's not just academic achievement. So I dropped at the word academic. It's achievement in real. They may be doing well in sports, for instance. That's why the sports schools is a good example. Was they go because they are really doing very well and have that passion. Thank you. So we have 3 supporters. How about the
Yes, I think just to touch briefly on the chicken points, I think I'd just like to echo the support for this parent school. But I guess, again, as Hamidah, as you pointed out, it's really about how you implement it. And I guess with mine is more a query. This parenting school, I hope my understanding is correct, but I guess you would also address the fact that there are different models of families in the Malay community, Some are set to say single parent, some single parent, not unmarried in the first place. And I'm kind of curious to know, especially for parenting school for the community, what will you have, for example, the teen mothers who may or may not be married? One thing I do notice is that I understand the AMP has begun new initiatives with KKH on managing teenage mothers, but my concern, especially with regards to how we as a community manage teenage parents in the first place, is that the concern is very much about stabilizing them in their marriage, but there is very little talk about getting them to go back out there, get out there and finish their education. And teenage couples who do not finish their education, it goes without saying that they will, in the long run, they will not be economically sustainable families. So this is, I guess, one of the queries that I have. What kind of effort will the MP work with perhaps MOE on this issue, because I think this is a big concern issue of mine, in the sense of teenage parents who don't finish school. They are, well, let's just be frank about it, they're not employable, period. They will not be employable, and they will be and then as regards to the community and mental wellness, I'm glad to see that you're moving into studying the health of the community, especially mental health and issues, touchy issues like depression and suicide, right? Especially due to religious, complexities of suicide in the Malay community. That I've met people who tell me flat out, Muslims who are depressed just don't believe enough in God, and I'm like, no, that's not the issue. The issue is the biochemical thing, has nothing to do with God, So things like that. So I'm really glad, that's something that we're addressing too. And I think one thing about, I think one thing that I think we fail to stress, I think, is in terms of quality community health, it's really not just about this kumbaya spirit, but you feel better if you're healthier. It's really about the fact that if you are healthy as a community, you have better economic potential. I think this is the part that's severely under stress in the community, that this is, I think that for some reason the disconnect between health and economic potential is not well stated for whatever reason, and I think I hope as the EMP moves forward on their initiatives for community and health, this part is stressed, that it's really not just about you being healthy for yourself. It's the fact that if you are healthier, you will become a better earner for your family. And just on and I'm just thinking in terms of just reaching back to Nizam's earlier keynote presentation in the morning about how Malay families tend to exceed expenditure. I'm kind of curious, has anybody actually ever studied how much income in Malay families has gone to cigarettes? Because 1 in 2 Malay men smoke. Most Malay families are low income, and most low income families exceed expenditure. So how much of this exceeded expenditure is caused by cigarettes? I think that's something that we really need to address, because the cheapest packet of cigarettes that people be careful, that's about $11. If the father smokes 2 to 3 packets per week times 4 weeks, that's good food that he's not spending on his family. That's textbooks he's not buying for his children. Yeah, thank you very much.
Jail, if they, the migrating and the immigration issue, they get caning and all that, it's very bad for the society. And so with that, I hope we address the moral issue first, including religion, before we can go on further to the physical health, like drug addiction and so on.
I don't like to disagree with that. It goes together. You can't say Islam is part of life without addressing the fact that, that especially I think there's including studies proving, for example, an obese child will go on to a high degree of developing diabetes, etc. So I think in the sense of, it doesn't necessarily have to be applied in that sense.
Maybe I will just address this morality. It's also very important, and we address that as part of primary school, that one of the things that we will emphasize on is focusing on morality and spirituality. So your point is taken seriously too. So this moral value.
It's a cost to me, because when you like moral.
Yes.
So with that, I'm going to address cost, morality, plus even the health. Because it's very costly in terms of health. No doubt we have those generic medicine now coming very low pricing. But even then, they did not address the cost when it comes to moral deficiency. Thank you.
So you are suggesting
Saya memang dah lama suka dengan strategi ini dan recommendation, tapi saya pun tunggu bila laksanakan. Pasal apa kita cakap lebih, tapi saya tak rasa benda ini boleh dilaksanakan. Saya bercakap saja. Tapi kalau dah ada wadah, di mana UMP mempunyai ruang yang luas daripada badan-badan dalam hal ini, saya rasa fikirkan tentang melaksanakan. Lepas tu baru kita beri konteks. Kita tahu konteks apa yang masalah lain semua kita dah tahu. Jadi kita fikirkan tentang solusi, bukan masalah.
so the structure and the solution. You're referring to parent school in particular?
Oh, in fact,
all. Okay, so the implementation is the sabar. Aku tak sabar juga. Yes.
We've gone through a long time, so we look at implementation rather than the speakers. I support all three proposals that I support, but I want to focus on the social service. I find that a lot of programs have not been successful because of the bureaucratic mentality. We focus so much more on system, procedure, and we get compassion. These people who are in need, people who need help, need compassion also, and we respect them. And so I think we should have more of them, and less of the others.
Before that, so I will be saying that this social service, we really need more of them and doing more work. So you support this outreach that we are saying that we should to have them to go out and stay in the office.
Assalamualaikum. Nama saya Ismail Yaakob dari BKMS. Dari pandangan saya, perkara yang dilaksanakan ini baik. Dan masalah-masalah yang dihadapi oleh orang kita sendiri faham. Cuma pokok utamanya kena cepat gerak. Sebab kita perlukan benda-benda macam ini supaya cepat laksana untuk generasi akan datang dan kita.
Terima kasih. So, going for action, faster and more action.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Zarina, and I don't represent any specific organization. I just want to touch on the second point, because you're talking about exploring the formation of a social service specialist center, so we're not actually having it yet. And I think I also want to talk about specifics and implementation. And I know you understand where I'm coming from because I worked with you before. Is there any specific targets that you would like to achieve with regards to the development of this institute as well as the producing the social service professionals? That's one. And then another thing that I have read in the recommendation, which says that you say that this institute will produce social service specialists. And as you know, social work, social service profession, it is a profession, it is an academic undertaking. You can't just go for a course and be certified as a social worker. So what do you mean by that? Is it a center that does courses like professional development courses or accreditation? Because you can't do that, it has to be at university level, I believe. And with regards to the implementation of this center, because it always has to start with a pilot study and things like that. That's what we did with Al-Hijrah and before. So do you have already any specific pilot project in mind to develop this institute first before you actually have a broad-based program for the community first and then maybe for the nation? Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Hafiz. Okay, the one from HPB, but I'm speaking on my own capacity. Right. Yes, it's true that our youth is actually overly represented in mental wellness side. Okay, I know the collaboration is very well. You want to do collaboration with HPB, I am Asian company, but can I just suggest that add one more collaboration with the Asatizas? Alright, I think that's very, very important because the Quran talks a lot about mental wellness and we do not really take into consideration about that, right? And I think there's a lot of Muslim literature from Ibn Qayyim and Ibn Taymiyyah about mental wellness.
We go to the Ustads to haram the jinn and then thinking that will solve the problem. But we actually need them to see.
Our youth are faced with a lot of challenges, especially depression. However, I am just a bit concerned about the formation of Social Service Specialist Center. It is a good idea, but we need to ask and prioritize which is priority for us. I would think the first and the third. The second can wait because there are already social work agencies, there are already social work organizations at the national level. And there's already Counselling Association, and on top of that, there's already the formation of the Singapore Youth Workers Association. So I think if we could get and channel all our people to these resources, then they can leverage on facilities that's available. So we really need to prioritize. I would go for the first and the community health issue.
We feel strongly about set up this center. So I believe there's already many centers willing to collaborate. So the word explore the formation is to see whether there is a need. Zarina is right to say about the research component. So we want to do that. And it's not the idea of being an alternative to NUS or SSTI. So it's just the encouraging. The idea that MCYS and SSTI is not very successful in getting people into the industry, so to speak. So what we want is to do more at a lower level where interest people to then take up degrees relevant to, and not just social work, the other options as well, and to also encourage and inspire people who are not happy with their career to do that mid-life or mid-career switch, they call it. But also at the early stage, sometimes you don't have to wait until 10, 20 years in your career. First 2, 3 years, people who are in the banking and they want to go into counseling. So not just social work degree, but they can take up counseling, they can take up some 1, 2 years diploma program where, and maybe as I'm hearing, the second one is more needed in terms of looking at that outreach component. So we want more of them to be able to do that. Those with the qualification as well as with the skills, yes.
Can the photographer share something?
Yes.
I am just a part-time photographer. I'm in IT, but I think I did my postgrad in counseling about 4 or 5 years ago. The challenge I had was I offered myself to do internship to Malay organization, and no one came back to me. I even actually approached Mendaki, had a discussion. The idea is this: there are a lot of Malay Muslim in doing this diploma or masters in counseling, but we do not have the opportunity to practice. My friends, they have their churches which actually support them fully, but for us Muslims, it is very, very, very difficult. We call you, we get somebody to call you, and nobody came. Yeah. But luckily for me, Halfway House Darul Islah invited me. I did with the drug addicts, extra addicts, and I graduated. And my wife is doing her masters now, and she also is having some difficulties. But Alhamdulillah, I think they heal. They are Club Heal. She's helping Club Heal and Madrasah Al-Huda. Something that really the community have to work. Do not say, we have this, please come. Go to them. Go to Poly, go to BCTA, go to, I don't know, Alliance, look for them. Instead of them coming to you. That's what I can say.
Right. He's speaking from the heart. I'm very touched also. So the idea is there are people out there that are interested to go into the industry, helping, so not just social work, but counseling as well, but not having the opportunity to practice, and in the end have problems. So this is, I think, another tip for that social service.
Just a point to know that I do not want to change. I want to help the community as a volunteer.
Yes.
I have no platform to it.
Yeah.
So I switch to photography.
But it's a resources and inshallah, when this is full, we'll call you as a volunteer. And for now, yeah.
Assalamualaikum. Yeah, we in Club are really looking for people who want to volunteer, especially student interns. So actually when we started Club our focus is actually on persons with mental illness. This is from my background when I worked with IMH. And I find that especially for the Malay Muslim patients, they don't have a place to go for step-down care that really suits them. I mean, we have places already, but usually for the Malay Muslim patients, they tend to drop out early. So that's why I wanted to start Club. But our agenda is broader than that. It's not just about helping persons with mental illness. No, the other thing is we have a vision of breaking the stigma surrounding mental illness itself, because stigma is a big barrier to recovery of these people. And of course, we want to promote mental health, so we can work with Health Promotion Board. And happily, we're getting invitations from people asking us to give talks on psychiatry topics, or mental illness. So there's a lot of work to do. See, ever since we started Club Heal, and alhamdulillah, the Malay media has helped promote Club Heal. So we have been getting calls from public. We have been getting calls from caregivers, families who really need our services, but because we are new, we are taking in funds, and we do have people wanting to volunteer. But inshallah, we'll get our act together and try to coordinate what we have, what is needed in the community. And of course, we are, I want to say we are a Muslim organization. So this is where, when you talk about the moral background, again, like I said, when we were Islam as our base, it's easier to reach out to the Malay Muslim patients in particular. But of course, our club is not exclusive to just helping Malays and Muslims. You know, we want to help everyone. But still, I guess most of our volunteers are at the moment Malays, Muslims. You know, although I must say we have got one person writing in wanting to be our intern, and she's Chinese, and I think she's a non-Muslim, inshallah. So we really welcome that. So we need to do a lot of matching what the community needs and what resources we have.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hamidah. I'm just a student in my second year of undergrad offering interest and worth. Just talking about stigma and also about fostering progressive and cohesive families. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems that cohesive or progressive families kind of presupposes a family unit that has a mother and a father. And it's kind of what I gathered from the keynote speaker earlier when he mentioned that in our society we're supposed to reduce the rate of divorce, and like that, single parent families, it's something that, that shouldn't be happening. So it's kind of like, having a mother and father and family, it's something the community as a whole should aspire to, and that it would reduce the social problems in the community. But I feel that exactly what this lady earlier had mentioned, there are different models of families, and if the reality of what we're going to face in the future is that our families would have just one parent, or that divorce is something that is becoming more commonplace, then it's something we have to deal with and not just chuck aside and say that, oh, this is a model that we should aspire to. I think we should just deal with the realities of the situation and really empower these individuals, and just drill into the society's conscience that just because someone is in a single parent family or is like divorced, it does not mean that it should be stigmatized, that they can still be upstanding members of the society. And I think that's something that should be addressed, because the focus here, at least what I gathered, is that families should be mother and father, but I mean, if the reality is something else, then something we should cope with and not just again shove under the blanket.
Thank you for raising that concern. When we put fostering progressive and cohesive families, as far as possible, we want families to stay together intact. But in situation where the parents are not together, that doesn't mean that there's no more families and we are not working with them. So it can be one parent families. It can also be the teenage families. So the families, we do take into consideration the various forms. And the challenge is to help them cope and manage, and then matching the needs and the resources. So whatever kind of families, although we are not promoting, and this is again the perception of the community, when we have an agency. I remember when I started the single parent family service for PPS in 1989, I and the PPS was accused of promoting people to have a divorce, encouraging, you encourage people to have a divorce, and no, that's not the issue. But now people are accepting this idea of single parent families as having real challenges, so we will be supporting them. So the idea of progressive and cohesive, one parent, two parents, no parents, if for the orphans, and we still want to work with them. So don't worry, we are not just putting them aside and saying that they are not real people, not having real concerns. We are working together with all families. Inshallah, yeah?
And research done in the light of this whole idea of parenting and the teenage parent, when these girls get locked up, what do we actually know why they decide to be a parent, to be a mother? Has any research been done on this in the process of identifying something for parents like teen moms, and why they decide to keep it? I mean, there are choices, yes, and I'm not someone who advocates terminations and what have you, so don't get me wrong, but there are choices. But they keep them. And this is something I'm speaking from my own experience in talking with these kids, because I was once working with the girls' home in a drama program, and I had children at the age of, girls at the age of 17 who just delivered 2 weeks ago and were back in the home lactating still while we were doing drama workshops. And the outcome of the project was to write a letter, and in the letter, one of them expressed that to the mother. They had to write to someone that inspired them, and they wrote to the mother. Interestingly, she said, "Thank you for taking care of my son while I'm here, and I hope when I come out I can be a good mother just like you." So I'm just curious whether the connection of wanting to be a mother is because it redeems themselves, whether they look up to the mother who's somewhat quite not done right somewhere along the way. I'm just curious where the connection is in making that choice to be a mother, even if it was by accident. I'm sure it's driven by a motivation of sorts, which if we can find out, then there's some kind of intervention that we can work towards. Did I make any sense? Yes. Okay.
This idea of young or minor marriages is a challenge that ANP and PPIS have been working with the group. Get into so-called trouble, get pregnant at a young age. There are many factors. One of it could be wants to run away from the family, pressure, problems. It could be for freedom. It could be just that they don't know how to take care of them. I remember one 14-year-old that got pregnant, said to a small size. Why? Because the boyfriend said, "I will not be pregnant." This US condom, and he said that I will not get pregnant. That simple-mindedness. So they get into being pregnant not by choice. However, after that, the reality, if they choose to keep the child, then whether they take care, the parents adopt them. So there's a complex issue. The idea is we do not want, as far as possible, for any girls to be pregnant and they don't know what is coming. We want them to have more choices, so to speak. So it's important to probably look at the research here. So among them, why do they decide to, and then some of them choose to give up the child for adoption. I've helped more than 10 such girls. So and then of course it is a decision that they have to take. So it's worth looking at that, because then this will be one form of families that we are. For the parents. And the challenge again, as I say, parents of those kids already in school, from preschool, primary school. So that's a whole range of parents that we want to work with. At the same time, we also want future parents. So it's by the time they have a child, it's limited time, not much they can do. So probably another work is among probably the Sec 2, Sec 3, Sec 4 before they get into. So it's a lot of work. You're right, and the challenge is when are we going to implement this? So I hope by tomorrow the social panel have to really step in and then look at that within 3 years what will happen, inshallah. So hopefully within a year we will see more actions and more programs. Yes? To offer the implementation.
As much as we are excited over the strategies, the three strategies in general, I hope that our community will not repeat the mistake of knee-jerk reactions. Because in relation to research, I believe that all the three strategies need certain well-thought strategizing and also research resources with relations to all the three strategies. And therefore, I was wondering whether AMP is having any specific plans. It may sound a bit socialist, but I think it may be helpful in order to reach this output of strategies that you may want to consider a 2-year plan, 4-year plan, 5-year plan, 2 years maybe for initial research, and then the implementation, and also the tracking down of the beneficiaries and clients of these three particular institutes. You may want to explore those possibilities. Thank you.
We have that in our plans, inshallah. Any other thoughts, reaction of the strategies?
Hi, I'm Fadila. I'm actually an interpreter of this body in courts. So I just want to ask about the first recommendation, set up a parent school. What kind of curriculum are you talking about? What are you going to focus on? I mean, as an interpreter, this body in court actually makes a lot of cues, and I also interpret at the tribunal court as well. So whenever I meet this so-called tribunal and ask them in their mitigation, I become their voice actually. So they were saying that there's no one for them to inspire them or aspire them to do better. So their parents are not really, they don't really care. So I was wondering whether, is there any component where you could get parents to inspire their children to go after their dreams? Because apparently that component is not there. And if you aspire to be something, you're inspired. You'll be more willing to do your best to achieve whatever you want to do. So I thought, in terms of curriculum-wise,
just sharing one of the important components, communication, and that will address this idea of how parents can bridge the gap and how they can listen to their kids and then be able to inspire and not then getting the resources. So the idea of the social service professional with the parents together, definitely it has to work that way. For parents who are not able to, then they will have to have other role models. I think our community as a whole lack of really good role models that the children and the young can sort of, is close enough. I mean, the idea is that we have somebody that we see and in action is much easier. Like for me, when I chose social work, it's not so much the career, it's just that less work, less study. That's okay, this one practical, okay, sure, okay. But then in the end, I end up in it because I am passionate about helping others. But then some of us make decisions based on what is easy and what is convenient or fun or passion. So it's important to look at this inspiration. So the education panel is looking at that motivated, inspired learners in which we can educate parents. So that has to work together. Thank you for raising the curriculum aspect. Yes.
The concern I have is that with a lot of these programs, it might be like brilliant, but I think a lot of MMO activities, they're not really like, I mean, with raising awareness, I mean, their programs might be good, but the rest of the community does not know about it. So the like diffusion of information on the program is also a concern that we should address.
Yeah, you're actually talking about the outreach that we consider as the most important thing. Having good programs, but the families do not know, and then not going to or not reaching them would be the key factor of success.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Jamal from PTMS. This is just a few of my suggestions. Okay, first of all, I think the families, families need to be micromanaged. Okay, to make masjid as a center of communication, every block in HDB, to have a head or leader to monitor or do outreach within the block itself. Leaders are to be to submit report or feedback to masjid every month or quarterly. Okay, like media masses plays a very influential role in molding the society, like Warna, Ria or Surya. Basically need to focus more on moral and religious aspect. The teachers in school also can play a vital role in providing feedback to MMO in charge in terms of student progress. Those are not doing well are to be closely monitored or given special attention to them. Okay, lastly is to strengthen Islamic values, how to instill good values in each and every Muslim. This will act as a deterrent to bad values in life.
So you are sharing the to-do list, no? So for us to look into what more to do. Thank you for the suggestion.
Actually, I'm quite concerned over this holier than thou approach. Because if we have this holier than thou approach of building the victim attitude, I believe that whatever good intentions that we have in terms of our strategies, the fear is that we will not be speaking the same language as our target audience.
That's where, if you look at the asset space, it's actually working with, talking to them, having meaningful conversation, and normally, really, I mean, when you talk about really change happens not in like big ways. It is sometimes through just a meaningful conversation. The client, oh, this is an idea, and then they're inspired. So hope is important, and then as well as like this gap, this bridge, as I say, that picture of social worker, and then the whole. So how do then you reach without them falling into that? Yeah, so, yeah.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Hamidah. I'm not linked with any organization. I'm just that was like what, more than 10 years ago. I'm speaking in support of the initiative or proposal to promote community health and mental wellness. A lot has been spoken about the parents group of the community.
I would really like to have the programs, as you said, highlight the things that's within the community and sort of steer that towards a more positive outcome. For example, I think the Malay community, the Malay families are well known for activities involving the whole clan. And I suspect part of the thing about we are spending more than we earn is quite a bit spent on family gatherings like kenduri, birthday parties and all that. Holidays, yeah. So it's a matter of doing more programs and more awareness on you have that money, you want to have the activity, spend less on the unhealthy biryani and be more things like that. But on a more serious note, I would like to I hope the initiative would also address the needs of the caregivers of the elderly or those people who are taking care of people, the non-ambulance people, patients. Because I think in terms of within the community, the mental preparation, the emotional preparation to handle this sort of situation, I think it needs to be stepped up more. And also in terms of our ability in identifying symptoms or condition where you're talking about a person's mental wellness is affected, I think that can be brought more into knowledge, into focus. Because as you said, we call the Ustaz Rohalaji, and a lot of people think, oh, ini dia punya masalah tak betul pasal ada orang buat lah and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's why I'm very much keen on the health and mental wellness.
I was just thinking widely that maybe we need to recruit more Muslim psychiatrists to be working hand in hand with such ustaz. So such cases, the next room for medication is real because it's just halau-halau and after it is more than just that, so the coping. And thank you for raising the issue of this promoting community health in relation to preparing for the aging and those who are caring for the aging. So that's another target group. So the people who are growing older and more vulnerable as well as the caretaker. So that's one important point to incorporate. We have about 5-10 more minutes before break for lunch. Yes. My mentor, my supervisor, at one point of time, Jitram.
My name is Imran Muhammad. I'm now with the fiber company. I have no issue with it at school, but I have apprehension. My apprehension is more on who are going to be the people attending the school, because I think the people who want to attend probably don't need the schooling. It's the people who don't want to attend. I think that's really the target group. I think the community needs to really concentrate, put the discussion more on who are the people that you want to get into school. Thank you.
I have a follow-up. Just now was I'm Isan, I'm a Singaporean. Just now he asked who needs to attend, but for me it's like who are the teachers to teach the people. Yeah, I mean you need to do the thing to know the thing. So yeah, that's my concern.
We are talking about the target group, the students as well as the teachers. We are talking about the format. Again, as I say, is broad enough to cater to all parents. So if I say you talk about parents, you have the whole 100% population of the parents of their schools. We want all of them to go through. So those who already have a certain kind of level. So as an example, that early childhood, it's actually the information, the knowledge that you have within that 1 year kind of certificate program. Some of it can be condensed into maybe 1 module, 2 modules. All mothers especially, and of course fathers too. And we talk about not just parenting in terms of just mothering, but it's also fathering. and also the real issue of when the parents are divorced and then we have this tussle, custody and fights. And school are sometimes used as a place where they go against each other. So the school, the community and this parent school, this is collaboration among the three. So we are talking about a target of a really broad, but at the same time specific small. So as I say, the model that we have been researching on is based on the 20 years of practice in the US. So we will probably take that small steps of pilot within a few schools and community and then test it out after a year, look at the strength and the limitation and work on it, and then we will launch and pilot probably within 1 to 2 years. So it's not something that we want to do in a hurry and then make mistakes. We want to test, pilot test, and then run. So yes.
Just to actually at Mendaki, we actually have this Family Excellence Center. It's a group of parents, leading parents in an informal support setting. And I think it's also a great collaboration as well to actually do that as a pilot phase. But these parents, especially there's also single parents, it's a different type of makeup of families with school-going children. I think it's just particularly right now we are addressing through group support sessions on certain issues on parenting as well as relationship between couples. So I think it would be in particularly specific as well to be in part of all this. That's quite interesting.
Thank you. Maybe last one.
I'd like to suggest maybe that you work with the universities when it comes to the one about promoting community health and mental illness. For information, NUSMS has conducted an event working with Muhammadiyah to raise awareness about the elderly and the aging population. So maybe this can be an avenue you want to look at. Thank you.
My name is Bahashwan, representing myself. After observing the few short exchanges and some support in general, I can say that most of the participants actually support what being presented as the strategies, and I'm very happy with that. There's nothing, well, it's a little bit boring because there's no real arguments for me. But I look forward to see the materialization of these ideas that we have. I can see that there's no real framework or format that was presented. So if that is included, then maybe the discussion would be much more livelier. But it's just ideas. So the ideas looks fine, and I think we have a lot of support from a lot of people. My suggestion is that if there is any way at all, to involve these participants in your next development discussion of your ideas, I think that would be useful. Yeah, that's one. Why I mentioned that is that just now you heard Jamsari mention that he's from the IT background and he took a postgraduate degree in social work. Just one suggestion. I see more and more professionals, which is not in the social work industry, wanting to help the community, and there's a lack of avenue to get into that. With this Social Action Institute, I don't know how it's going to form up later on, but if there is such a platform, people like myself, who also from the IT background, reaching retirement age in the next few years, and would want to give back to the community, and if there's such a platform where we can actually go for certain certification, certain recognition of practicing social work or social assistance, that would be good, because at the point of retirement, you will have additional resources, much more mature adults who will be professional service providers, with the institute. So that's one suggestion. Okay.
Thank you. So we can have actually similar model like the school counselors, where retired teachers and principals are groomed to be school counselors. Not all are successfully implemented, and some of them are trained, but then when they become a school counselor, they still wear the principal hat, so it doesn't work. The school don't like them, so you can go, you are no longer principals here. So it has some adjustment period. But people with IT background and other engineering with the heart for the community, they will make actually the best counselors. So So that what they need is training, so maybe half a year or 1 year, you know. So because counseling is such that you can then take the skills and then implement. And again, outreach, it will be a mixture of all the skills to do the outreach. And then we can leave the professional with degree and masters to do what you call higher level and like more complex problems. So we have levels where the outreach is done by maybe the young as well as the retired. We have to have a mixture. Because to visit the families, sometimes the young one and the families look like, what do you know? They really don't want to open up. And then the retired or semi-retired would be helpful. Thank you for the contribution. Whether Shanti concluding remarks? Observation, yeah, maybe we hear from our advisor, our panel, social panel, board member facilitator, we call it. Want to sum up?
I think like one of the participants said, I also noted that today's discussion is quite genial, I would say, quite friendly. There's nothing, because I think basically what we have put up are issues which are non-controversial, I would say. I think where it become controversial, probably when it becomes more interesting is when we talk about implementation. And I think, I don't have to say this, but let me just say it. To me, the biggest challenge, right, is resources and funding. Okay, right? I think all of you know, if you have resource and funding, many of these strategies that were put up, which looks impossible or very difficult, with money and resources, it can be done. I believe so. But without resources, funding, even a subset of these strategies, I think it will be very difficult to implement. So if I can just summarize, I don't think that is something that I think ENP will discuss. We recognize that to be the major issues. And I think this today's discussion sort of validate that in terms of the direction, actually that is not a problem, it's on the implementation and getting the support from whether the community or the government to give us the necessary bullets to actually to start running some of these programs. Okay, that I will conclude.
I think the next steps, if there's no other issues, we could end going for lunch at level 1. And then after that, to be back, I think latest by 1:30 in the room, and if you want to use the